Hi there, this is Dani, and the channel is You and Me Living Free. I am so glad you're here. We are at the Grand Canyon, the North Rim, and we're doing a hike today called Bright Angel Point. And boy, I'm all smiles here, but it doesn't stay that way through the whole hike. So this hike is right at the behind the visitor center. This is as you're walking up to the beginning of the hike. So if you've ever been to the South Rim, it's like you drive up and it seems like there's nothing, and then you're driving up and it's all this concrete and all this kind of flatness, and then you look over and you see the canyon and it's like awe. This is a completely different experience because you are in the trees literally, and all you're catching is little glimpses over to the side of the canyon that is to come. So it is kind of building anticipation, and it was kind of fun. It was, in some ways, it was kind of disappointing because you're like, oh, it's still the Grand Canyon. I was expecting like this grandeur, and I just was catching glimpses through the trees. Then you'd get to someplace like this and you're like, yep, okay, here we go. I can see what's happening now. And you start to get more excited the further you walk. Here we go. Now we're getting close. Part of you is just like, why don't they just chop down some of these trees so I can see? I know that would be really silly, but I'm just saying it crosses your mind. Okay, here's me on the actual trail. Now, this trail is only a quarter of a mile down and a quarter of a mile back. It's pretty steep, and I thought that was going to be my biggest challenge with it, but I was wrong. Here I am early on in the hike, smiling because I don't know any better. This was at one of the first little places of the hike. They even had a little bench here, so I'm just sitting on the little bench, just happy as a clam. Here's where I'm starting to get the idea that this is going to be challenging for my fear of heights. This is a huge drop off to the left. There are a few trees and a tiny ledge, but it is mostly completely down at a shocking angle. You can see here, like there's almost nothing there to the left. And I was seriously like, I can't believe they let people walk on this. Here's a part where you're just next to this rock. I'm hugging that rock, just like hugging the rock. And I was holding the camera like off to the side, like, oh my gosh, just trying to get some kind of view, but I didn't even really care. I was hugging the rock at this point and really close. Now, the walkway here, you can see, is like 5 or 6 feet wide, which is great, but it gets much narrower in some places. Like this is probably only 4 feet or so. And there's drop off on both sides. Look at that on the right. And then on the left, you can't tell as much because there's trees, but look, it does go straight down. Like if I fell, I would be dead. Those are the things that go through your mind when you're afraid of heights. Okay, this next video, I'm slowing way down. I'm going to try to tell you this story. Okay, look at this setup here. There is a big indention where there's a wide part right before the path gets really narrow. Where the path gets really narrow, I was really afraid to go there. So I thought, I'll have a little respite and I will rest in this wide spot. And then I turn the corner and I'm looking for this place that's going to be my solace and my rest. And look at this. Between those two huge rocks, it just gives you the view clear down to the bottom. It took my breath away because I was all ready just to be like relaxed and take a deep breath. And I thought, here's my respite, and it's challenging my whole life. Like it's like death defying. On the other side of these big rocks, these boulders, is oblivion completely. And it was one of those things that just startled me and took my breath away. I could be getting close to my panic attack here. This was building and building, and I did have a panic attack later, spoiler alert. But I can't remember if this is exactly when it happened because it's a few days later now. But I kept looking at this trail like, I can't believe they let people do this. And as I was on the trail, there were a bunch of other people, not a bunch. There were 2 in particular people who were very afraid of heights. 3 people. One guy I was talking to, and then he decided to stop at a certain point, and I kept going. And then another woman who like couldn't even basically talk. She had a friend with her and she was sitting by the edge and she was getting ready to go back down, but she was really not in a great place. She was having a very hard time, much harder than me. Okay, I'll come back to the other people in a minute. I have to tell you, this is where I lost it. This is where I had my panic attack, and here's why. I kept coming around these corners. I kept coming around these rocks, jutting out into the trail. I felt like I was just pushed, and I had done the best I could, and I was really doing okay. But every time I came around a corner, there was another corner that scared the crap out of me. Because in my mind, the conversation is, okay, that the worst is over, the worst is over, the worst is over. And I kept realizing, no, the worst is not over. It just keeps getting worse. And it got worse beyond this point too. I was afraid to go around this corner, but I did make it. And then here was like the next thing, and it was beautiful, but there was the next thing. And I really thought it was going to send me over the edge. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. There it is. This little bridge was almost the end of me. I stood here for quite a while wondering if I could do it. I find this is as close as I got with a picture because I did not want to look down. There was no way I could have out my camera. So here's what I did. I did a little round of EFT tapping. I had already done one when I had the panic attack, but I did another one here. And then I decided to put my hands cupped around my eyes to use them as blinders and go across, not looking over the sides, but only looking at the concrete right in front of me across that little path. So by the time I came across, and this was the last little bit to the ultimate end, by the time I came across, I had like a couple of people clapping for me because they knew how scared I was. I mean, you can tell, when a person is standing there with tears in their eyes, or they're standing there, or they cup their hands up to go across the bridge, like you get some idea, right? But I tell you, I was extremely proud of myself. And that's about as close as I wanted to get to these railings. And so someone was nice enough to take my picture. I think it was the woman who was clapping for me. She was also afraid of heights, but she'd come a long way to conquer her fear. And she seemed pretty fearless to me. This look on my face is cracking me up because it is a big smile, but it's just tinged with this thing like I'm really happy I'm still alive. Like, part of me can't believe I'm still alive. Now, honestly, the rest of the walk wasn't near as bad because this is still at the top, and then I turn around. I had to go across that little bitty bridge again. This is from the other angle going back, but I knew I could do it. I knew I had survived. I knew I could do it, and it was so beautiful. I mean, the reward when you do scary stuff like this, at least the reward, look at that shot. Oh my gosh. The reward is, look what I got to see that I would have missed. It's very worth it. And it's worth the fear and the tears and the anxiety attacks and everything, because I know I get stronger every single time. And let me see if I can just cram in. So there was this one guy and he was afraid of heights too. And we were kind of commiserating around the first half of the walk. And then he said, well, doesn't it just make you kind of a little bit lightheaded? And I was so giddy and amped up on adrenaline and everything. I said, well, sometimes I get lightheaded, but mostly it's just the fear of imminent death. And mostly it's the fear of imminent death that really just scares the crap out of me. He honestly didn't really know what to say to me at that point, but I decided to keep walking on, and he decided to stop where he was, that was far enough. His wife made it to the end, and she was taking pictures, and he decided that was good for him. And that is cool. Hey, I'm not... Hey, to each their own, right? Just to be out here and to be on the path, that's really what counts. So anyway, hi to him and to everyone else I met that was afraid of heights. Boy, the walk back on these heights. I'll tell you, the way out, that first quarter mile felt like 2 hours. I mean, I felt like, maybe not 2 hours, but I felt like it was so long, and it was only a quarter of a mile. But on the way back, I could see, oh, okay, this is a quarter of a mile. On the way out, I was like, no, this can't be a quarter of a mile. That's wrong. I guess it was just the fear talking. I just finished the hike to, what is it even called, for heaven's sakes? I didn't look. I think it's Angel Point, Grand Canyon, North Rim. And it was the toughest half a mile I've ever done. Toughest meaning physically it was very tough, but emotionally and psychologically it was tough because of the heights. And just kind of exhausting, and there were a lot of people. It was extremely stressful, but I just finished Bright Angel Point. That's what it's called. Anyway, just wanted to cue the Rocky music and commemorate the end of this little but mighty hike. And I have to tell you that I'm proud of myself. Every time I push myself, whether it's heights or physically or any of that, it does feel really good. It feels really good. And so just closing out the video, saying thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. I'm sending you so much love. If you're still watching, I really appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that as I'm editing the video that some of those shots turned out just as glorious as they really are in real life, or at least just to give you a little taste of it. So I hope you're having a great day. I'm sending you love. I'll catch you next time.